Boss tells View enough already, Dagan. According to the Daily Beast, Disney and ABC execs have told The View to tone down their Trump bashing because they're constantly doing it. Should they, though? I mean, isn't this their brand now? They got nothing left. If you take that away, what do they have?
Nothing.
Greg Gutfeld just went nuclear on The View, and he didn't do it quietly. He brought the heat hotter than Florida pavement in July, roasting the show while Disney CEO was allegedly looming with a chilling ultimatum. Wrap it up or we will. But this wasn't just a takedown. It was a full-on public grilling. Gutfeld transformed that corporate threat into savage comedy. So sharp, even Mickey Mouse would have tapped out. The internet lit up as Gutfeld turned a boardroom warning into a punchline spectacle. So, what pushed Disney to the brink? And how did Gutfeld hijack it hilariously?
Disney, the owner of ABC News and daytime talk show The View, is now the subject of a new report claiming CEO Bob Iger is urging the show's host to tone down their criticism of President Donald Trump.
Always want us to be respectful and do the things and talk about the stuff we talk about. We can do all of that. But when you are blatantly giving the country the middle finger, that is blatant. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to take the plane.
Don't you think when he lets these white Africans in and claims that's giving the middle finger to the black community?
Buckle up, because this drama is juicier than a $$20 turkey leg at Magic Kingdom. Here's the tea. When Disney starts swinging its cancellation wand, it's usually over some flop of a cartoon or a Marvel movie that tanked harder than a roller coaster drop. But this time, the glittery axe came for daytime TV's reigning drama queens, asterisk The View star. That table of overtanned, overpaid chatterboxes finally crossed a line, not just push the envelope. They launched into orbit, and it came back to smack them right in the filler. These are the same women who used to glide through controversy untouched, wrapped snugly in Disney's corporate bubble wrap. But now, executives are reportedly panicking harder than a tourist who lost their kid at Epcot. Something changed. And Greg Gutfeld? He smelled blood in the boardroom. The formula of 5 loud women in designer heels screaming over each other about which celebrity should be canceled isn't working anymore. Shocking, right? Turns out a glorified brunch brawl on live TV isn't the media goldmine Disney hoped it would be. Ratings have dipped lower than a discount bin of old Disney DVDs. Enter Greg Gutfeld, Fox News' resident sarcasm sniper. Picture Gordon Ramsay, but with fewer insults and way more eye rolls. The second he caught wind of Disney's soft threat, cancel culture energy, he didn't blink. He thrived. With one eyebrow raised and jokes sharper than a Chuo stick. Gutfeld turned their boardroom meltdown into late-night gold, and the internet couldn't look away.
Nothing. As if the show is some delightful chit-chat fest without the political talk.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a lullaby and a shot of Dickel.
Yeah.
If they're not ripping on Trump. Here's Joy. She's going to share her feminine hygiene routine and tell you how to prevent your old tatas from going down and having a picnic with your belly button.
Gutfeld didn't just clap back. He lit the stage up like the 4th of July. He turned The View into the Hindenburg of daytime TV, bloated, burning, and full of nothing but hot air. And the best part? He never had to spell it out. Gutfeld's roast game is about yelling. It's all about smirks, slick jabs, and enough side-eye to warn a UV warning. Every punchline dripped with disrespect. He didn't just roast the show. He plated it like fine dining, seasoned with petty and served with a generous side of disdain. He pulled back the curtain on a show that's been coasting for years, masquerading as a voice of women when, in reality, half the audience just tunes in to see who's going to snap next. Delusions of grandeur? Please. It's more like daytime drama, wearing a dollar store tiara. As long as the panel keeps moving in woke sync, like backup dancers at a political rally, dunking on the usual suspects and high-fiving each other's moral takes, The View will stay exactly what's become, a glamorized group therapy session where everyone talks over each other, no one listens, and the therapist walked out halfway through go film Real Housewives of Burbank. Manufactured chaos, now with better lighting.
That's like a cross between The View and Hee Haw. Except hoo-ha. Wow, that is pretty good, isn't it? It's hee-haw meets hoo-ha. I don't know. Michelle, you okay, Michelle? At least somebody got it, even when I was thinking, and I go, does that make any sense?
Yes, it made perfect sense.
So what finally made Disney snap? After spoon-feeding The View every chance in the book, letting it spiral from bold debate into a smug recycling bin of reheated Twitter outrage, they finally connected the dots. Yelling louder doesn't mean people are actually watching. Viewership wasn't just dipping. It was nosediving harder than Marvel Phase 4 plot twist. When your core audience turns out to be people who accidentally left the TV on after Bluey, you don't have a ratings issue. You have a full-blown crisis. And of course, Greg Gutfeld smelled the flop from a mile away. He pounced like a cat on a wounded bird, painting The View as the Roman Coliseum of daytime TV. Except instead of gladiators, it's bougie hosts lobbing passive-aggressive shade and Pinterest quotes at each other. The crowd? Not roaring. Just awkward throat clears from viewers wondering how this show is still on air. Gutfeld didn't stop at mocking the format. He went full demolition on the cast. Each host got roasted like characters from a bad sitcom. He nailed them as walking cliches. From the wannabe intellectual dropping $5 words to the vibe curator who treats victimhood like a resumed skill. No depth, no diversity of thought. Just a costume rack of predictable personalities playing the same tired routine 5 days a week. And Gutfeld, he turned their implosion into primetime comedy.
Told them to lighten up, and this is what they did on the Qatar jet, or Qatar jet.
The United States has accepted the plane. Is going to cost.
He has accepted the plane. The United States has not accepted the plane.
He representing the government. He's
not representing
us. He's the government. Why does he want it, do you think? Because he's the king? He wants to go around the world like the king?
It goes to him and his presidential library, so it becomes his plane.
But we all know that that's BS, okay? No. He's not giving that to his presidential library. He's going to take it, he's going to fly and use it. But he's not supposed to have it. I got the Constitution right here. He's not supposed to have the plane. Okay?
All right, my point, Michelle. If you take that away from them, I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
Like it's like what Dagan said. There isn't anything else.
You've got the permanent victim, the one whose entire role is a dramatic cocktail of sighs, exaggerated eye rolls, and nonstop moral outrage. Like she's auditioning for a courtroom drama no one asked for. Then there's a washed-up celeb, clearly time-warped in from another decade, offering little more than blank stares and anecdotes that age worse than low-rise jeans. And of course, the fake centrist, always playing neutral until tension rises, then folding faster than a paper straw in a Veni caramel macchiato. It's a total mess. So when Disney reportedly threatened to pull the plug, it didn't feel like a bold corporate power move. It felt like someone finally found the guts to end a long, awkward performance. Even the execs who greenlit Pirate of the Caribbean 6, yes, 6, could see the ship was going down, and fast. Just as the panic started to set in, Greg Gutfeld strolled in like the savage ghost of common sense, cracking jokes and dropping truth bombs like the building was already on fire. Because let's be real, Asterisk of View Asterisk has become a walking, talking parody of itself. It's not must-watch TV anymore. It's a glitter-dusted meltdown with commercial breaks. What once claimed to be empowering has turned into a weekly showcase of faux outrage and empty sound bites. Watching it feels like listening to 5 Yelp reviewers argue over politics, while forgetting which restaurant they're even mad at. And while Gutfeld roasted from a safe distance, you could practically hear ABC's PR team scrambling to spin the chaos into something salvageable. But this time, not even Mickey Mouse was buying it. The side-eye was real. The ratings don't lie. And when the cliff becomes a canyon, someone has to look down. The View isn't shaping the national conversation anymore. It's struggling to keep up with the group chat.
I love what you said about wanting to entertain audiences, critics saying Disney's too woke, but you're just putting out storytelling.
We are. Look, I don't really like the term woke because I think it's an umbrella term that I'm not 100% sure I even know what it means, and one could argue that sometimes it's used too liberally. That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
At this point, The View can't even spark decent lunch break gossip. The takes are so tired they need a nap. It's the same worn-out arguments, delivered with the enthusiasm of a tax audit. The debates are timed tighter than a speed date, but with opinions as empty as the coffee mugs on their table. And Gutfeld, he didn't just mock the show, he performed a full-on comedic autopsy. His jokes were sharper than a chef's knife, slicing through the noise with precision. He held up a mirror, cracked, foggy, and smeared with hypocrisy, ego, and delusion, and made sure the whole world saw the mess. No filter, No mercy. In that moment, Gutfeld said what many were thinking but too afraid to say out loud. The View isn't a talk show anymore. It's a burnout-fueled echo chamber screaming at itself. The irony? A panel built on calling everyone else out can't handle a second of self-reflection. It's not discussion. It's a race to see who can cry offended first. Every episode feels like a live-action contradiction. Rage dressed up as virtue, shouting disguised as wisdom, all packaged by the same media empire, now threatening to pull the plug. And let's be clear, this isn't even about politics anymore. It's about performance. And The View is bombing.
You know what it reminds me of, Joey, is that it's like, it is a microcosm of the Democrat Party. If you look at The View, it's tightly wound and miserable, largely female, hallucinating and angry. Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
The View doesn't educate. It emotes. It doesn't debate. It declares. It's not a roundtable discussion. It's a midday seance where logic gets ghosted and feelings steal the spotlight. Gutfeld didn't need a fiery monologue or any dramatic takedown. The show does the roasting for him. All it takes is a raised eyebrow, a perfectly timed side glance, and boom, instant takedown. When a show becomes so exaggerated, so cartoonishly absurd that simply describing it sounds like satire, that's the real punchline. Time to address the elephant tap dancing in the studio. The View's ratings are sinking faster than a TikTok trend no one remembers by the weekend. Post-scandal, audiences aren't just tuning out, they're tuning elsewhere. In a world of Netflix binges, viral podcasts, and the oddly satisfying joy of doing literally anything else, watching The View feels like flipping through a 2009 magazine in a dentist's waiting room. Outdated, uninspired, and totally skippable. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's sarcastic sniper-style comedy commentary is pulling in real numbers. His audience? People who break out in hives at the first whiff of self-righteousness. And buried in that is a message. Viewers aren't craving moral lectures wrapped in plastic smiles. They want clever. They want edgy. They want truth served with wit, not a five-way shout fest that feels like being trapped in a family group chat you never asked to join.
It's about The View. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Here, let's look at this political oddity. It really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost.
But The View just keeps pushing forward, totally unaware that it's become the very joke it once mocked, a bloated panel of overtalkers, each one vying for gold in the offended Olympics. Every host believes their take is gospel, their voice a moral compass for the nation. But that compass? It's spinning like a rigged carnival wheel. The map's irrelevant, and the audience has already left the building. Now Disney finds itself at a crossroads, deciding whether to quietly pull the plug or keep slapping duct tape on a ship that's been sinking in slow motion. And Gutfeld? He's just watching from the sidelines, grinning like a kid with scissors, reminding everyone that the Emperor's new clothes are stitched from recycled hashtags and worn-out hot takes. In the end, the most savage roast wasn't a punchline. It was a spotlight, one that exposed a show built on noise, not nuance. And once that light hit, the cracks were impossible to ignore. The View isn't controversial anymore. It's just comedy without the laughs. Too proud to pivot, too lost to evolve. It's a paper tiger collapsing under the weight of its own ego. And Gutfeld? He didn't need a shout. Just one well-placed punchline and the patience to let the collapse play out. So if this really is The View's final curtain call, let's not rewrite history. It wasn't a cultural trailblazer. It became a cautionary tale. A warning about what happens when smugness is mistaken for wisdom, and groupthink gets dressed up as enlightenment.
How can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're an honest scum.
Meanwhile, over at Fox News, Gutfeld is probably clinking his whiskey glass. not in celebration, but in disbelief that it took Disney this long to smell the rot. Because this wasn't just a roast, it was a full-blown requiem, not for daytime TV, but for a show that genuinely believed shouting louder meant sounding smarter. And when those final credits roll, the awkward silence might just be the most profound thing The View has ever aired. No monologue, no hot take, just silence, a fitting end for a show that confused volume with value and noise with nuance. As the camera pans out, past the ashes of the View's meltdown, what's left behind? A smoldering crater in the liberal media landscape, a place where self-importance went to die and common sense dipped out the moment joy. Behar warmed up another monologue. Let's be real. Disney's cancellation threat wasn't some accidental leak. It was a media equivalent of a meteor aimed directly at the dinosaur nest. And The View, that's a screechy velociraptor pacing in circles, still convinced it's the main attraction. But here's the twist. It's not just The View that's in trouble. It's the whole genre of manufactured outrage dressed up as insight. The extinction event isn't coming. It's already begun.
An anti-aging drug for dogs has moved closer to gaining FDA approval. Customers are already waiting in line. No, it's nothing personal. We just save money using the same picture 3 times.
The View has become the poster child for a genre that thinks groupthink is some kind of bravery badge, that acting holier than thou makes for compelling TV, and that whoever shouts the loudest automatically wins the moral high ground. It's the kind of space where looking offended at the mention of free speech somehow boosts your credibility, and any tiny disagreement is treated like the sequel to World War II. Spoiler alert, it's not that deep. What we're witnessing with The View isn't just a blip. It's the first sneeze before legacy media catches a full-blown existential flu. The whole system is sick. These old-school liberal outlets have been stumbling toward irrelevance for years, clutching their pearls and calling it progress. But eventually, even the loudest echo chamber caves in, especially when there's nobody left on the other side to echo back.
Sis Jackal, if you hate Kamala's cackle, according to The View's moo-moo-wearing mascot, Joy Behar, men are sexist if they're not a fan of Kamala's laugh, or funny women in general, especially if they're in bed. Roll it.
What really ticks me off about him, though, is this laughing Kamala remark. Mm-hmm. It's such a sexist remark, because a guy I was with over the weekend, a friend of mine, they said Kamala's laugh annoys me. Remember they said that about Hillary's laugh, that she was cackling. And men, you know, they don't like a funny woman. We're afraid if you laugh or you make a joke, that maybe you'll do that when they're in bed with you.
Oh, my God.
Joy Behar in bed? Ooh. I thought cows slept standing up.
Let's face it, audiences are done being lectured by millionaires dressed like activists. It's insulting. These are people who sip green juice in luxury trailers and pretend they're brave for agreeing with each other in slightly different tones. That's not courage. It's cosplay, and people are seeing right through it. The numbers? Brutal. Ratings have been nosediving harder than a cryptocurrency after a bad tweet. The show acts like it's breaking boundaries, but can't even keep eyes on the screen without a teleprompter feeding them fake heat. It's not bold, it's boring. Viewers are tapping out because shows like The View deliver the same energy as a brick through a window, loud, messy, and void of nuance. Now, with endless options online, people are tuning into creators who don't condescend and who actually talk, not preach. Because here's the truth. Modern audiences can smell fake outrage from a mile away, and it reeks worse than a Whoopi Goldberg hot take before the first commercial break. Meanwhile, across the media battlefield, Greg Gutfeld is kicking back and climbing the ratings like it's casual. Not because he reinvented the game, but because he remembered the game works. Humor, satire, and here's the wild part. Actually saying out loud what audiences are already thinking, instead of finger-wagging like a disappointed principal. Shocking concept, right? Apparently, yes.
I actually thought that was a nice break from the normal chatter, right? Did you notice how the audience they couldn't tell the difference? Because generally it is a screaming match. And so you have the audience basically joining in. That stuff, it has a reverse effect. Like, it's making me more militant in my adherence to fossil fuels and to red meat. Mm-hmm. It's like I see that, I go, well, I'm going to just start eating a raw ribeye while driving a tractor trailer up a mountain of coal. Just like this the whole time. I'm not stopping. I'm coming for you, View. But you're right. It's all it's actually not right versus left. That's left versus left.
Yeah.
Here's the delicious irony. The liberal media, once so smug and untouchable in its cultural dominance, is now low-key begging viewers not to change the channel. They've gone from trendsetters to teleprompter hostages, watching their credibility bleed out while pretending everything's fine. For years, they played the cancel culture game like they own the rule book. But surprise, when the corporate suits turn to cancel on you, it hits a little different, doesn't it? And now, we reach the final chapter in this reality TV gone wrong saga. The impending fate of The View. Disney's threat to cancel might not be set in stone, but make no mistake, it's a massive, blinking warning flare. Even the most protected temples of smug ideology aren't safe anymore. This isn't just a ratings crisis. It's an extinction-level event for scripted sanctimony. Sure, The View could try a total reinvention, but let's be real. That would require every co-host gaining a sense of self-awareness, humility, and the ability to handle actual disagreement without spiraling into a live TV meltdown. And let's face it, none of that's covered in their contracts or health plans. So here we are. The media machine that once ruled the airwaves is cracking, creaking, and maybe finally crumbling. And Gutfeld? He's just holding the mic, watching it all go down like it's the finale of a comedy roast nobody realized was real. Or maybe The View will just fade into the background like that tired TikTok trend your mom just figured out 2 years too late. Because, honestly, what cards do they have left to play? They've milked moral outrage dry, tried to fake deep intellectualism, even rebranded screaming as dialogue. But at this point, all that's left is a screaming, loud, tired, unwatched. It's a show caught in its own echo chamber, flailing for attention while the ratings slip through its fingers like sand. Desperation isn't a good look, and no amount of yelling will cover that up. But hey, maybe if they yell just a little louder, they'll convince someone, anyone, that they still matter. Or maybe they're just trying to drown out the sound of chairs squeaking as the audience quietly gets up and walks out. Either way, the final act isn't looking heroic. It's looking embarrassing. And that's the reality. So, if you want more breakdown, savage media moments, and no fluff commentary on the chaos behind the cameras, make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.